Today we're going to be going over some fragrances that project for days, at least theoretically. And chances of you actually wearing these for days in a row and continuing to benefit from that projection is probably pretty slim. I would imagine sometime during that duration you would end up taking a shower, or if you're wearing it on your hand or something, it would be getting washed off or scrubbed off or something like that. But I can tell you from personal experience that if you were to apply any of these here in this video to clothing, and you were to not wash that clothing for a certain period of time, you would still smell the scent radiating off of that item for multiple days. And this is something you can test for yourself really easily. Take any scent, one of the ones from this video, spray it on a jacket or a sweatshirt or something, and then just hang it back up in your closet and then come back to it every now and then. If you're choosing something strong enough, you're still going to be able to smell that. That's kind of the premise behind this video. If you're wanting strong projecting scents that just never give up, you want to be the center of attention, these are it. Went with a few less than normal just to kind of narrow it down a bit more and maybe make it easy for you to make a decision here instead of being overwhelmed by, 15 or 20 or something. Alrighty, let's go ahead and run through these. And I want to start off with Dolce & Gabbana The One Luminous Night. One of my favorite flankers in the line. I think this is one of their best pieces of work right here. They're kind of branching out, still maintaining some of the ambery, the One DNA, of course, just adding in some dates, some other notes to give it a little bit more of an oriental, kind of Middle Eastern smell, somewhat, without going too crazy too far. This is still the type of thing that is very easy to pull off in a lot of situations, and it's something where if you're comfortable wearing it, you can pull it off. Has a very, very smooth, silky, and creamy sandalwood in here, and I find that to be similar to the sandalwood in the One Royal Night. Just very silky smooth and easygoing. They're using the same type of compound here. And that also adds to the wearability aspect of this one. And that's important when it comes down to it. If you're spending money on something, you want to be able to use it. You don't want to be worrying about it. Is this going to smell too daring, too different? That's not the case here with this one. Maybe if you go over to something like the One Mysterious Night, that might be a different story depending on who you are and what you're wearing and what you're used to wearing, but this one is no problem. It does have great projection as well, great performance overall. That's something that isn't as common with the One and its DNA. The EDT, the EDP, things like the One Gray and so on aren't really known for having the best performance. It's unfortunate because they all smell really good, but that's just kind of how it is. And to be fair, I think for what it's worth, the One EDP, one of the best date night scents for men ever created, it has about the performance that you would want for a date night scent. Going out to dinner for a few hours in the evening, it does that really well. It's not something that's going to be in a marathon run going for 12 plus hours, but I don't really see that one as a scent I would use for something like that anyway. But this one here has really good projection to back up this heavier, richer, and more full-bodied DNA, which I really like about this one. A little bit harder to get, but it does pop up from time to time. There's a really good clone out there called Fragrance World Moonlit Night, which also has great projection, great performance, and again, is a very, very close alternative to this. Next up, let's go with Parfums de Marly Carlisle. You could have gone with a number of choices, really, from PDM in this video if you wanted to. If Carlisle isn't your thing, maybe this one is just a bit out of touch for you, a little bit different, because it is kind of pushing the boundaries, so to speak, at least compared to some of the other offerings from PDM. You could go for something like Leighton. You could go for something like even Herod. You could go for the new Altair. You could go for any of those, Wajan, also Habdan, and if you want, again, maybe something that is a little bit more daring, Leighton Exclusive, throwing in some of that oud. And if I didn't already say it, Leighton, I don't know if I said that or not, a lot of options. Kind of wanted to go for Carlisle because it is one of my personal favorites here. Beautiful scent with a lot of Gaiac wood, patchouli, some tonka bean, some vanilla, silky smooth, and very, very premium, very high-end smelling. So I really like about it. This gets compared to things like Red Tobacco by Mancera, and then it kind of gets lumped into Mystery Tobacco by Carolina Herrera. I find this one to be less tobacco focused first and foremost, and more so a smoother and easier to wear style or genre of scent than those others. If I were to rank them, it would be red tobacco over here being the most challenging, mystery tobacco in the middle, Carlisle on the end. But I still think Carlisle is further away, you know, where mystery tobacco and red tobacco are over here closer together. Carlisle is just, it's still further away, does its own thing a bit more with the heavy focus on the vanilla patchouli here. You're not getting a ton of tobacco and you're not getting a ton of oud, or at least a decent dosage of oud like in red tobacco. And so anyway, this is a great scent with great projection, very strong stuff. It does demand a premium. You know, it's even on discounters in the low $200 range, usually just a touch over $200 if you're getting a good price on it. But at the end of the day, it does deliver, and it is 125 mLs. So it works out to be a pretty fair price per milliliter compared to a lot of other niche out there when we're talking that $200 price point for this when you can get it at that. Next up, we have GISADA Ambassador Intense. This one caught a fair amount of hype, and recently, within the past maybe month and a half, came into stock on a fragrance buy. They got a ton of them in for a very good price. And essentially, you know, if you can kind of get a little bit of an idea by the shape of the bottle here, Sauvage Elixir inspired. And you might be wondering, you know, why go for this when there is things like Latafa Assad, for example, which is about $24. And that's a great question. And I did, just for the record, do a full video on this. I'm not going to go too far in depth right now, but if you want to see the full rundown, you can go check out that standalone video. I do find this one to walk away from Sauvage Elixir a little bit more. You know, I think Assad is fair to call it a clone. I think this one is heavily inspired by Sauvage Elixir, but with a little bit of a twist, primarily being, to me, it has a little bit less of the old school smell to it. I guess you could call it maybe just a little bit more modern. It just depends on how you want to, you know, word it. Also, when you compare them side by side, Assad to this, there's a difference in quality. It's noticeable, not major, but it is there. It just depends on kind of what you're looking for. I do find this one to be a great fit for the video for the sole purpose that it does have constant, almost non-stop projection. This is a strong performer, definitely worth checking out, and it's good for this time of year. Next up, we have Armani Eau de Nuit. Now, this one here has tonka bean, iris, and cardamom. Really nice scent. You know, it's not one that gets a ton of hype compared to really all of the other iris scents out there that we know and have heard about. This one's kind of under the radar and makes sense to me just because this Armani line is a little bit more classic and old school feeling. Now, this one in particular, Eau de Nuit, is not that far. It's a little bit more new smelling, but with a little bit of that old school twist as well. It kind of meets in the middle. I do think it's a really good iris scent, though. Has a real nice sweetness and dusty nature that you would expect out of a scent within this DNA. But it's also quite a bit different compared to your typical iris scents. You know, DHI, VUI, Gentleman EDP, and so on. So I don't find it to be too redundant. I would say if you're wanting something with a little bit more of a classic feel, and just a different change of pace, maybe you already have those other iris scents or maybe you didn't like those, this is another style that you could try and maybe really end up liking. Let's keep it moving with Ferragamo UOMO. Now this one comes in the mid $40 range or so, 100 mil. Really nice price on this one for a crazy beast mode scent. This one has been known for a long time to be very strong, and it does ring true to that statement. It's got sweet notes. It has some ambroxan in here, a ton of tonka bean, and all of that good stuff. I mean, sweet notes really wraps it up. Now, one thing I will say it does have, and this to me is pretty accurate, kind of a gourmand, chocolatey, edible smell to it, and it's prevalent when you first spray this one, whether it's on skin or up in the air like I just did. You pick up on it. It's strong. You know, it'll take your breath away if you're breathing it in like I just did there, trying to talk at the same time. This one has some power and some impact behind it. This is not for the faint of heart in terms of, you know, if you don't like sweet scents, then this is going to be something you want to stay far away from. If you're someone who has a pretty good tolerance to sweeter men's fragrances, things that don't smell as masculine as you might want, then this is something that would be in your wheelhouse. I like this one for the fact that it just is different compared to everything else in this price point. You know, just a touch under 50 bucks. You're not usually getting too many releases, too many things that are super unique and standing out. A lot of things, and even to be fair, above that price point as well, there's a lot of mimicking and things that smell very similar. That's just how it is these days. But I do think that this one does offer a really fair, unique kind of perspective on things in this price range. And so I think it does have a value, or a lot of value, for that reason. If you want to smell different this fall and winter time, check out Ferragamo UOMO. Next up, we have EROS Flame by Versace. Man, I love this one. It's one that's grown on me substantially over the years. It's got vanilla, tonka bean, and orange. And the reason why I've come to like it more and more is because it is a little bit more of a smooth and kind of creamy, slightly aromatic take on the original EROS. So it has, that orange really does this DNA really well, works great with it. It's kind of backing off on that minty green smell and opening that you get from EROS that does carry through, you know, the entirety of the scent. Here, I find it to be a little bit more focused on some woods and kind of supporting it, the fruits up top, giving it a smoother sweetness. You get a little bit of a black pepper in here as well. I just think it's a different style on the DNA, but still very much having an EROS smell. I think for some where EROS is a bit too in your face and too strong, or maybe to you it's kind of played out now, EROS Flame is a nice update. This one does have great performance, great projection, just like you would expect from an EROS scent. That's why it's in the video. Let's jump over to XERJOFF Groove Escape, which is one of their newer releases here. It's got pepper, myrrh, cardamom, and incense. Really nice release. I like it. Twisted Lily sent me this one over. If you want to pick it up and get a discount, you can use my code CHAOS10 on their website and grab anything. That code works for everything there. I do like this one. I handpicked it out. They said, hey, you know, do you want to try anything? I looked through, saw this was a newer one, liked the note breakdown, and this is what I settled on, and I'm happy with it. I think it's really nice. Nice, spicy, woody, not too sweet in the way that things are these days. Like the tonka bean, the overwhelming smell of that. It's not that type of new style sweetness. It's more of a woody, spicy, and kind of a cardamom spicy forward scent here. And so it also doesn't go too far in the young or playful or juvenile direction in terms of its scent delivery here. I find this one to be more neutral, something that could be worn dressed up or a little bit more casually, just depends on what you're after. Cool bottle design on this one too, definitely different than a lot of other, you know, XERJOFF releases. All around, I find it to be a great scent with great performance, great projection especially. This is the type of thing here that will last forever on clothing. You might as well just wash it, you know, if that's the only way you're going to get rid of it. It's not just going to wear off on its own, sitting in somewhere in your house, in a box somewhere. You want to get rid of this stuff, you got to send it through the wash. Okay, we're almost done with this video. I wanted to toss in this new Gucci Guilty Elixir, the small little 60 ml. It's even worse than I thought. 60 ml. It is a true parfum, but man, that is a small bottle for a pretty hefty cost. So in my first impressions, I misspoke. I was talking about the price. I believe I said it was like $140. It was, but that's because they were running like a 15% off sale or some sort of sale. I believe it retails for like $170. 60 ml. That's pretty much on par with Sauvage Elixir, so definitely not cheap. Now this one here has orange blossom, benzoin, nutmeg, and Ambro Fix, which is something relatively new, also used in YSL Myself, giving off kind of an ambroxany type of smell, no surprise. Definitely is giving off some major Amouage Reflection Man vibes here. And for me, that's a bonus. You know, I have Reflection Man, have Reflection 45. I don't need something that smells similar to it, but this one does have a unique twist. It's got the orange blossom, so it's Gucci Guilty, like Gucci Guilty Black, I guess, meets a more upscale Amouage Reflection Man 45 Extrait. That's kind of what I was more so leaning towards in my first impressions, and still stick to it now. It has more depth, more richness behind it, similar to that of 45 Extrait. But it does have the white florals and you know, the neroli smell that Reflection Man does have. So I think it's a cool, interesting, and unexpected crossover here. The price point, though, is rough. You know, I mean, Homage, Reflection Man, you know, the EDT is significantly more affordable than this when we're talking price per milliliter. So it's bizarre. That being said, taking everything else out of it, no, it's another elixir and this and that, judging the scent alone, it is really good. I like it a lot. And also in this instance here, it is a big projection monster. Well, in this video with Pasha de Cartier Parfum, this one has balsam fir, sandalwood, liquor, and that's kind of all I really get. At least that's all of importance here. Great, phenomenal scent. And I'll tell you right now, Cartier, they are the go-to designer brand, or one of them, when you want to smell upscale. This is it. You know, you're kind of rolling your dice with a lot of the designer brands, but especially, you know, when you get into Paco Rabanne, things like that, you're almost guaranteed to get something that's going to be more geared towards the younger crowd. Not saying that older guys can't wear them, but generally you guys, most of you understand what I'm saying here. You're going to a business meeting, you're not wearing Invictus or 1 Million, lucky. And so Cartier, they have a track record for just putting out scents like this that much cater to the more mature and older demographic. If you are going to an important event where your presentation and appearance is, you know, kind of dictating whether you get the job or not type of deal, like you really need to be on top of your game there, you want to go for something from this brand. And it's not just Pasha de Cartier Parfum. You could go for the original. You could go for Declaration Parfum. They have a lot of options, and they all smell premium. And they really aren't too crazy expensive either. A lot of them are a lot cheaper than Dior, Chanel, Armani, YSL, and so on. Great projection out of this one. Nice boozy scent for the fall and winter with a nice upscale premium feel. Definitely check it out. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. A few fragrances that seem to project for days. You're probably not going to make it to that point, but test some of these out. Spray them on a sweatshirt, hang it up, set it somewhere in your house, just leave it, go back to it after a while, and it's still going to be there. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.